One of my interests is in electrical toys rather than digital. In other words, electromechanical. They've been around for more than a century in one form or another. This is the Fireman Sam wind-up power book. I'm not going to take it completely to pieces because that would involve breaking it open inside the plastic. There is someone on YouTube who's done that. Not to the Fireman Sam version, but to the Bob the Builder version of this book. This particular copy has a problem, as you can see. Not too bad in here, it's just starting to go at the seam there. But clearly the binding, this paper that holds the whole thing together, is just not up to it, which is fairly standard with these toys that are also books. The binding tends to come to grief. Understandably, you've got quite a heavy card front cover there. So first of all, let's take a look at what the toy is, and then I'll explain what I'm intending to do to make a repair. The idea is that there's a generator that you turn, and various lights come on. The kettle, radio, and the fridge, and they shine through different seams. So the light appears in the microphone there, on the meter over there, on the telephone, etc. So each page has some different flashing lights. Miner's lamps. Norman's birthday, and I'm pleased to see that he has a toy robot. Norman's party. And it's the lanterns that light up. And finally, this fire engine cleaning machine, which also, you'll notice, has gears. Now, they don't appear to turn, unlike the gears in the generator. However, I opened the drawer up here, and I was most surprised when I found this in a charity shop to find that the gears were still in there. They can be added. And turning the generator handle is supposed to turn the gears. If it does a bit, they're kind of reluctant. But there we are. And the promised stickers that come in the book are basically stickers that go on these gears. So not terribly exciting in terms of stickers. And that probably worked better when it was new, but I can't go around oiling it now. So I'll put those back. There is an earlier, I assume it's earlier version of the graphics for the cover, which I imagine was probably the pre-production graphic that they had to send up to Amazon. And in that one, Sam's giving a thumbs up rather than holding his torch. And also I noticed that, whereas here it says with moving cogs, lights and stickers, the stickers seem to have been a last minute addition to try to make the whole thing a bit more interesting, because the original graphics doesn't actually mention stickers. I think not that interesting a toy from a kid's point of view, although apparently some children did enjoy it a lot and others weren't interested. They could have added a little audio chip of fire engine noises, and they wouldn't have broken the bank, and it would have become an audio visual toy instead of just a visual toy. But there we are, they didn't, did they? This was published in 2008 by Egmont. What's interesting to me is that although they're using an alternative way of producing electricity, renewable energy, nothing is made of that in or on the book. So they kind of missed a trick there, I think. Although it's interesting to see that in the fireman's kitchen they do have recycling for plastic, glass and paper. So they are ecology aware. It was just over 10 years ago. Perhaps renewable energy wasn't something that kids were going to get interested in, kids or their parents at that time. But it makes a change to have an electrical toy that doesn't require batteries. Batteries not included because batteries not required. So kind of interesting. I attempted, 10 years on, it still generates the electricity, so the little hand generator is still working, it still turns the gears. It's having a bit of trouble turning the extra gears for the fire engine cleaning machine, but not bad. However, we do need to deal with this, and that's what I'm going to do now. Now, it's not really possible, it would be possible just about to seal that. It's not really going to do much good because it will just get broken again. So what I'm actually going to do is cut down here so I can release the actual spine and then put something more substantial as a binding material. And that's what I'm about to do now. So there we are. It should be possible now to reinforce this properly, and while I'm at it, to reinforce the inside of that edge too, to make the whole thing a lot tougher, so it will survive a few more years without falling to bits. Now, to make the repair, I'm going to use this, which is part of an old American airmail envelope, which is very strong because it's made of Tyvek, sort of stuff they make bulletproof vests with, I think. It's a bit like Kevlar. Anyway, I'm going to use that, a strip of that on each side of the inside of the binding of the spine to give it suitable strength. I've just glued this strip of Tyvek to the back section, and then that will be folded over and glued to the back board. The whole thing has been not designed too well to take the weight of this board. This will help a little. I finished reinforcing the back of the spine, and I'm now just reinforcing this section at the front. I've added this Tyvek paper to the front of the spine board, and that will then fold over onto here, and then with this carefully put back, and that'll be about it, and it'll be just about finished then. Where I've put the broken paper back, you can see that there's a gap, and that's because if I'd forced those edges together, it would have all been in tension when the cover was closed, and we would have come back to the same problem eventually. It would have split. So I've given a little bit of space there. I'll touch that in, as you'll see shortly. And I'm just finishing off this rather badly damaged corner, and then I'll do the retouching. It was necessary here to have a slight overlap. I've used Japanese repair tissue underneath here, and because there was a gap, for the reasons I've mentioned, I've had to have a slight overlap onto the spine, and that will be painted in shortly to match. Well, that's about done. So that now goes away, and if it survives some way into the future, perhaps people will be interested to know that in an era when we had wind-up electric radios, wind-up electric torches, flashlights, there was also at least one type of wind-up electric storybook. These are very cheap on Amazon and eBay, but of course not many will last into the future if some fool gives them to a child to play with. But you can.